You want her to like you? Then stop chasing. Stop explaining. Stop proving your worth, because the more you try, the more invisible you become. No one talks about this. But attraction isn't created through constant presence. It's created through absence. When you go silent, truly silent, something shifts in her mind. She feels it. The tension, the distance, the mystery. You're no longer one text away. So now, she wonders who is. That's the power of no contact. It doesn't just change her perception. It resets the emotional balance, and it quietly reminds her of your worth. 1. The energy shift. When a man stops showing up for someone who took him for granted, it shakes the foundation she stood on. Suddenly, she's not so sure anymore. Not about you, but about her own assumptions. You see, women don't respond to pressure. They respond to contrast. If you were always available, always reaching out, always proving your value, you faded into the background, but now you've gone quiet, and in that silence, she feels it. The absence speaks louder than your words ever did. Now she's scrolling through old messages, remembering things you said, trying to solve a puzzle she thought she'd mastered. And the more complex that puzzle becomes, the more intriguing you become. The mind craves what it can't grasp, and that craving, that's where attraction begins. 2. Clarity through distance. No contact doesn't just shift her emotions, it sharpens yours. When you're constantly seeking her approval, you lose sight of yourself, your time, your energy, your worth, slowly leaking out through your phone screen. But in the silence, things become clear. You start to remember what life felt like before your happiness depended on her replies. You remember your goals, your purpose, your strength. You stop chasing and start choosing, and that is what becomes attractive. While she's wondering where you went, you're becoming the man she hoped you'd be. Not for her, but for yourself. 3. The psychology of absence. Every human mind craves resolution. So when you go silent and stay silent, she doesn't get closure. She gets questions. Why did he stop? Does he still care? Was I not enough? And here's the twist. She may idealize you more in your absence than she ever did in your presence, because imagination is a powerful thing. You're no longer the guy who texted her every morning. You're now the man she can't read. And it's that mystery, not your effort, that ignites attraction. It's not your words she misses, it's your restraint. 4. Resetting the power dynamic. No contact isn't about being cold. It's about choosing dignity over desperation. You're not withdrawing out of anger. You're stepping out of an old story, where her moods defined your worth. When you take back your attention, you take back your power. And trust me, she'll feel it. Women are intuitive. They can sense when a man is no longer orbiting them emotionally, and that's when something interesting happens. She doesn't come back because you begged. She comes back because your absence reminded her of your presence, of your value, of your strength. You didn't convince her. You became undeniable in silence. 5. What to do during no contact. No contact is not about doing nothing. It's about becoming something. Don't just sit in the silence, build in it. Physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. Hit the gym. Expand your mind. Heal your nervous system. Rediscover your purpose. You're not doing this to get her back. You're doing it to remember who you were before you forgot yourself. Before you mistook love for chasing. Because if she returns, she won't find the same man. She'll meet someone stronger, someone who doesn't need to be chosen to know his worth. 6. The return. She'll come back. Not out of guilt, not out of need, but out of curiosity. And maybe regret, wondering if you still care, wondering if you still see her the same way. But here's the real question: will you still want her? Because no contact isn't about manipulating her. It's about realigning you. It's not about waiting. It's about walking into the version of yourself that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't lose himself for someone else's attention, because the man who walks away is the one she remembers. And if she doesn't, then she was never yours to lose. You were always finding yourself. Final message: let her feel the distance. Let her sit with the silence. Let her wonder what she lost, because when you remove your presence, you become the presence she craves. No contact isn't the end. It's the reset. And if you use it right, it's the beginning of something better. Not just with her, but with yourself. Because when a man embraces silence, he learns to hear himself again. And a man who can hear his own voice never needs to beg to be heard again. If this resonated with you, and don't scroll past, hit like to remind yourself of your value. Subscribe for more truths you won't hear anywhere else. And remember, sometimes, silence is the loudest power you hold.